Today, the FDA is taking action to remove petroleum-based food dyes from the U.S. food supply and from medications. For the last 50 years, American children have increasingly been living in a toxic soup of synthetic chemicals. The scientific community has conducted a number of studies raising concerns about the correlation between petroleum-based synthetic dyes and several health conditions, such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, obesity, diabetes, insulin resistance, cancer, genomic disruption, GI issues, as I've seen in the hospital, and allergic reactions. For example, this Lancet study conducted a randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled study on food dyes and concluded that artificial colors in the diet, quote, result in increased hyperactivity. So why are we taking a gamble? Parents, moms and dads, have also tried to raise attention to the issue. Some parents have observed that these chemicals cause hyperactivity and even aggressive behavior, and that it subsides when the chemicals are removed from the diet of the child, and sometimes even reoccurs when those petroleum-based chemical dyes are reintroduced. As I know from my experience taking care of children as a doctor, you have to always listen to the mom. Other studies have found that artificial colors that create vibrant colors mess with the child's developing brain to make ultra-processed foods more attractive, even when the child already feels full. These studies have associated food colors directly with obesity and diabetes. Well, America's children are sick and suffering. 41% of children have at least one health condition, and 1 in 5 are on medication. The answer is not more Ozempic, more ADHD medication, and more antidepressants. There's a role for those medications, but we have to look at underlying root causes. The F in FDA stands for food. Now, there's no one ingredient that accounts for the child chronic disease epidemic. And let's be honest, taking petroleum-based food dyes out of the food supply is not a silver bullet that will instantly make America's children healthy. But it is one important step. This administration is not interested in continuing down the path of doing the same old things as we watch our nation's children get sicker. We need fresh, new approaches. Cancer and diabetes in young people is going up at an alarming rate, and nobody seems to know why. We have to turn our attention to underlying causes, such as chemicals and toxins that children are exposed to, not just more insulin and chemotherapy. And let's not forget that the best way to lower drug prices is to stop taking drugs we don't need. 30 states concerned about this very issue have introduced bills or laws with a patchwork of standards for food companies. So the food industry, which has many good people, has asked for clarity. So today the FDA is taking the following steps. Number one, establishing a national standard and timeline for the food industry to transition from petroleum-based food dyes to natural alternatives. Number two, initiating a process to revoke authorization of synthetic food colorings, including those not in production, namely citrus red number 2 and orange B, within the coming weeks. Number three, taking steps to eliminate the remaining 6 synthetic dyes on the market from the U.S. food supply, specifically red dye number 40, yellow dye number 5, yellow dye number 6, blue dye number 1, blue dye number 2, and green dye number 3 by the end of next year. We are also requesting food companies to remove red dye number 3 sooner than the 2027-2028 deadline previously announced. These steps that we are taking means that the FDA is effectively removing all petroleum-based food dyes from the U.S. food supply. For companies that are currently using petroleum-based red dye, try watermelon juice. Or beet juice. For companies currently combining petroleum-based yellow chemical and red dyes together, try carrot juice. The FDA is also announcing plans today to authorize 4 additional natural color additives using natural ingredients in the coming weeks, while also accelerating the review and approval of other natural ingredient colors.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, Commissioner McCary, Governor Morrissey, and the rest of the crew here to fight the good fight. And I was reflecting on a friend of mine who was a pediatrician who once said that if a foreign nation was doing to our children what we are doing in America, we'd go to war to protect them. And I think we don't need to do that anymore because we have a champion in Secretary Kennedy and Commissioner McCary to really make a change that we need in America. I'm Dr. Mark Hyman. I'm a practicing physician. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and not HHS. I'm a lifelong advocate for addressing chronic disease through food. And I'm here today because our food system, specifically our regulatory system for food additives and dyes, is failing to protect the health of the American people, especially our children. Every day, Americans consume thousands of chemicals in our food, many of which have never been independently tested for long-term safety. Artificial dyes like red 40 and yellow 5, emulsifiers, preservatives, and so-called natural flavors have been linked in studies, many studies, to behavioral issues, to metabolic dysfunction, to inflammation in the body. And these aren't just theoretical risks. We're seeing rising rates of chronic diseases linked to food dyes and other additives like ADHD, obesity, autoimmune diseases, allergies, endocrine disruption, and even cancer. The highest levels of scientific evidence shows that these food dyes cause increased hyperactivity, reduced attention span, irritability, sleep disturbances in both children with and without pre-existing behavioral disorders. Now, these effects can occur at doses within the range of typical consumption for many kids, which is often in the many milligram doses. Is it any wonder that there's been a 1,000% increase in ADHD since 1970? 1,000%. No parent should have to guess whether the food they're giving their child contains substances banned in Europe but allowed here. No doctor should watch their patients struggle with chronic illness tied to ultra-processed food and be powerless to change it because our food policies lag decades behind the science. It's time, and it is time, it's happening, that the FDA and HHS is demanding full transparency, independent review, and science-based safety standards for every substance added to our food. Americans deserve a food system that protects their health and not corporate interests. Thank you.
Will there be a way for Americans to identify products that are complying with this phase-out? Such as labeling or?
We're looking at labeling. Labeling, we have to go to Congress for. But one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to post all the information we have about every additive on an open source website. So that, and we're going to encourage companies that develop apps. There are a number of other apps out there today, like Yucca is one, but there are a number of others. I use Yucca, and my wife uses it in our home. Those apps, then you can use. Those companies will develop apps in the private marketplace, so that mothers can go in, they can scan a barcode of every product in their grocery store, and they can know what's in it and what's not.